Life, death, rebirth, and suicide. Death, and to a lesser degree, life and rebirth, form the subject matter of the majority of the questions asked by visitors. Death is the greatest catastrophe men dread. Omar Khayyam, who sang, "Before we too into the dust descend, dust into dust, and under dust to lie, sans wine, sans song, sans singer, and sans end." And he is not alone in taking man as the merest dust and the grave as his last destination. The horror of everlasting extinction grips and numbs all hearts, even the stoutest. To the Maharshi, death, like life, is a mere thought. When you are awake, you incessantly think. And when you go to sleep and dream, you do not think any the lesser. But when you pass from dreamful to dreamless sleep, your thoughts cease, and you enjoy undisturbed peace, till you wake again and resume your thinking, and with it your restless, peaceless state. Life is miserable because it consists of nothing but thoughts. When death strikes down the body, the dreamless, thought-free state prevails for a brief period, but soon thinking starts again in the dream or astral world, and continues till a full so-called waking takes place in a new body after another dreamless lull. This daily cycle of waking and sleeping is a miniature of the cycle of life and death in man and the universe, of alternation of activity and rest. The substance of the former is thoughts and sensations, and of the latter, the peaceful being from which these arise. To transcend birth and death, we have to, therefore, transcend the process of thought and abide in the eternal being. 4th January, 1937. A visitor asked Sri Maharshi, "How can the terrible fear of death be overcome?" "When does that fear seize you? Does it come when you do not see your body, say in the dreamless sleep, or when you are under chloroform? It haunts you only when you are fully awake and perceive the world, including your body. If you do not see these and remain your pure self, as in dreamless sleep, no fear can touch you." If you trace this fear to the object, the loss of which gives rise to it, you will find that the object is not the body, but the mind which functions in it, and through which the environment and the attractive world is known as sights and sounds and smells. Many a man would be too glad to be rid of his diseased body and all the problems and inconvenience it creates for him, if continued awareness were vouchsafed to him. It is the awareness, the consciousness, and not the body he fears to lose. Men love existence because it is eternal awareness, which is their own self. Why not then hold on to the pure awareness right now, while in the body, and be free from all fear? A man from Mysore, Mr. M., had read some theosophical books and stayed at the ashram for some months trying to digest them. He wanted to know about rebirth. Theosophy speaks of 50 to 10,000 year intervals between death and rebirth. Why is this so? There is no relation between the standard of measurements of one state of consciousness and another. All such measurements are hypothetical. It is true that some individuals take more time and some less, but it must be distinctly understood that it is not the soul that comes and goes, but the thinking mind of the individual, which makes it appear to do so. On whatever plane the mind happens to act, it creates a body for itself. In the physical world, a physical body. In the dream world, a dream body, which becomes wet with dream rain and sick with dream diseases. After the death of the physical body, the mind remains inactive for some time, as in dreamless sleep, when it remains wordless, worldless, and therefore bodiless. But soon it becomes active again in a new world and a new body, the astral, till it assumes another body in what is called a rebirth. But the jnani, the self-realized one, whose mind has already ceased to act, remains unaffected by death. It has dropped never to arise again to cause births and deaths. The chain of illusions has snapped forever for them. It is now clear that there is neither real birth nor real death. It is the mind which creates and maintains the illusion of reality in this process till it is destroyed by self-realization. 12th April, 1937. A Dutch lady, a Mrs. Gongrip, is a resident of Adyar and is on a 3-day visit. She wants to know the cause of the urge to live, known in the Pali scriptures by the name of tanha, which is inherent in all life. Mrs. G said, "What is the cause of tanha? Thirst for life, thirst for rebirth." Real rebirth is dying from the ego into the spirit. This is the significance of the crucifixion of Jesus. Whenever identification with the body exists, a body is always available, whether in this or in any other one, till the body sense disappears by merging into the source, the spirit, or self. The stone, which is projected upwards, remains in constant motion till it returns to its source, the earth, and rests. Headache continues to give trouble till the pre-headache state is regained. Thirst for life is inherent in the very nature of life, which is absolute existence, or sat. Although indestructible by nature, by false identification with its destructible instrument, the body, consciousness imbibes a false apprehension of its destructibility. Hence, it tries to perpetuate that instrument, which results in a succession of births. But however long these bodies may last, they eventually come to an end and yield to the self, which alone eternally exists. Mrs. C asked, "Yes, Give up thy life if thou wouldest live, says the voice of the silence by H.P. Blavatsky. Give up the false identification and remember the body cannot exist without the self, whereas the self can exist without the body. In fact, the self is always without the body. But a doubt has just now arisen with Mr. G in his mind, as she has just heard that a human being may take an animal birth in some other life, which is contrary to what Theosophy has taught her. Let him who takes birth ask this question. Find out first who it is that is born, and whether there are actual birth and death. These are only of the ego, which is an illusion of the mind. May 5th, 1943. Mr. B is a keen devotee of Sri Bhagavan. A few days ago he lost his only son, which took his faith in the Maharshi and in God's grace. For some days he went on strike by staying away from the ashram, but today he came in to have it out with Sri Bhagavan, with a long list of questions which he had prepared. After receiving some answers, he was satisfied. What is faith? Faith, love, grace are all your nature, the self. But if so, faith and grace are obtainable only on the realization of the self. All that we call faith and such before then is variable and untrue. Quite so. Is sorrow a thought? All thoughts are sorrowful. Even pleasurable thoughts must be also sorrowful? Yes, because thoughts take one's attention away from the self, which is undiluted happiness. What made Bhagavan come to Arunachala? What made you all come? By that question, I want to know whether there has been any difference in Bhagavan's spiritual outlook between the day he left Madurai and now. None at all. The same experience has prevailed throughout without any change. Then where was the need for Bhagavan to write hymns in praise of Arunachala? Was that for him or for us? I do not know why they were written. It might have been for others. What is life? Materially speaking, life is the body. Spiritually speaking, it is the ultimate consciousness. It depends on how you look at it. What is death? It is oblivion of one's real nature. At this stage, a visitor interrupted by asking whether suicide was a wrong act. Killing the innocent body is certainly wrong. The suicide must be committed on the mind, where the suffering is deposited, and not on the body, which is insentient and feels nothing. The mind is the real culprit, being the creator of the anguish which tempts one to suicide, but by an error of judgment. The innocent, insentient body is punished for it.